We think we're making up our own minds, but what if we're actually just repeating someone else's opinion? Because if we're not aware of something, we repeat it. But the second we realize and we become aware of it, we have the freedom to choose. Hi babies, welcome or welcome back to another episode of our channel. It's Paula, psychology student, and I don't stop talking about how psychology can benefit your life. In today's episode, we're gonna dive into the world of social psychology to analyze the different factors that play a role in your opinion on things. A huge part of it are biases, and biases are the different lenses that alter the way we see the world unconsciously. But they are a whole other topic for another day. But if you're intrigued to know how they change our psyche, subscribe to the channel because it is coming, babies. It is coming. Nonetheless, today I want to dive into the world of stereotypes, because it's a much less talked about topic, because stereotypes are not just cliches. It's a much more intriguing, deep, and complex world. So today I'm going to synthesize it for you guys. So without further ado, let's get started. First of all, we need to kind of understand our brain. We are wired to simplify information. Therefore, we love the black or white thinking. What we aim to is to oversimplify complex information. Therefore, we want to deem something as good or bad. The thing is, most often than not, people, things, experiences are not either extremely white or extremely black. They fall in the middle. They're a shade of blurry gray. But our most automatic way of thinking is inclined to believe something is either great, amazing, and deserving of all our admiration, or it is the worst thing you've ever seen in your whole entire life. Okay, and as you may be thinking, yes, this is a really easy way to manipulate people through fear, because we fear things that we deem to be terrible. And when we understand something is just the slightest bit bad, our brain makes it terrible, like the worst thing you've ever seen. You're either extremely good or extremely bad. And that's how opinions become streams. Of course, that when you hold a belief and you deem it as good, you will understand that every single person who thinks the same way as you is also good. And the people who hold the belief contrary to yours, which you deem to be terrible, you will think that that person's terrible, awful. All the adjectives you attach to the argument, the stance, or the opinion, you will likely attach it to the person. And that's what stereotypes are. If you want examples of this us versus them, black versus white type of mentality, just open Twitter. You also have news feeds, YouTube, people talking. Like the Christmas table is a huge us versus them conversation. Okay, let's dive into the specificities of what stereotypes are. First, we'll need a definition, right? Okay, let me tell you. Stereotype is the preconceived ideas you hold towards a group of people. They're automatically activated in your brain when you categorize someone. They're not always negative or inexact. If we see someone with a knife in the middle of the street, we'll deem them as dangerous, therefore we'll get far from them. Therefore, we will be saved and not in danger. So yeah, it's a defense mechanism. That's why they work. But the thing is, we live in a world and we are wired to not only believe those SOS messages that we get from our brain, we're more than that. Therefore, we can have the critical thinking to understand when this automatic response of stereotypes is actually accurate, or where we can sit and understand that, hey, maybe that's not the best stance we can have on a topic. Quick side note, guys, most of this information is taken from my notes, assignments, and information in the classes of social psychology. So if you are interested in the topic, so if you want me to share the information with you, I would happily do so. Let me give you an example. For instance, when I was a kid, my mom used to always bring me to the same coffee shop because it was her favorite. And as I grew old, I realized that, yeah, to me, it was the best coffee shop in the city. So whenever someone else told me that their favorite coffee was from another place, I'd be like, you're dumb. Or at least had a questionable taste on that matter. And a few months back, I wanted to grab some coffee with a friend, and I told her, let's go to this place, the same old place. And she was like, Paula, why do you always go to this place? And I was like, because it's my mom's favorite. And as I was saying this, I realized, oh, this is not the best coffee in town. This is just my mom's favorite. we are extremely biased. And I'd always taken the stance that this was the best coffee ever. And everyone else who had a different opinion was just wrong. The thing is, have I tried every single coffee out there? No. Then how do I know that this is the best coffee out there? I just don't know. And bear in mind, I shouldn't be going like to every single coffee shop in the world because I would lose a lot of time, and I honestly don't have that time to spare. So I realized that the black and white thinking on the coffee was just dumb. I realized that the black and white thinking on the coffee was not the best thing I could do for either my friends or myself. Because I was literally putting a wall in between me and my friends because I was good because I held the correct opinion and they weren't. You see where I'm going, right? Because this is applicable to many things in life. The thing ended up with my friend and I going to a different coffee shop, and I realized that the coffee was the same. But anyway, the thing is, it is not applicable to each and every opinion, because if someone comes up at me and has an opinion that it's against, I don't know, human rights, I'm not gonna go to them and be like, yes, I understand your point of view, because hey, my stereotypes are there for a reason. It's a defense mechanism, and that's why people who held extreme beliefs on things, it's because they use stereotypes as a defense mechanism because they feel threatened, and really threatened. They are driven by fear. And now, why do people hold extreme beliefs? Like the typical beliefs that go against human rights. What is the psychoengineering behind that? Well, let me break you down what stereotypes are. First, stereotypes are highly linked to opinions and attitudes toward different things. Okay, and we have 3 different categories or layers. First is cognitive, which is what we think about it. In the coffee example, I think this is the best place. Then we have the second layer, which is the affective. What do I feel towards it? I feel good because I link it to happy instances with my mom. I actually enjoy the coffee there. That doesn't mean that it's the best, but I feel like it is so. Because I get a huge sense of nostalgia in this case, because I used to go there when I was a kid with my mom. I feel like you know where I'm going. And that doesn't mean that this coffee is the best one. That just means that I have a huge emotional attachment towards it. Therefore, I will not have the same attachment towards other coffees. Then, when someone else comes at me and says, hey, I really enjoy this other coffee, I will go to them and say, no, you're wrong. And this act is the third layer. The behavioral layer is the one of the actions. Me coming up to people and saying, no, your opinion is wrong because I am right, which is like the worst argument in the world. And in case if you want to know, like, why do people go around saying those brutal opinions that hurt millions of people? Well, it's because someone's reinforcing it. Okay, let's open the pie and let's get into 20th century psychoanalysis. Let me emphasize, we are not in the 20th century. Now we know much more. We have brain scans. We have theorized much more. I don't fully believe in either Freud or Jung's psychoanalysis, but it's a great way to illustrate it. Let's talk Freud's unconscious, okay? It's parts of you that you are not aware. You get triggered and you act in ways that you didn't know you could, like super irrational. Be explained by the things that trigger you that make you have a brutal opinion to protect yourself. That's a defense mechanism, also a Freud theory. And then we have like Carl Jung, who said that there's the collective unconscious. We say that our environment shapes us, and it is true, but a great way to like see it is the collective unconscious. It's literally the type of engine of the car. It could be more or less efficient, it could work one way, the other way. It's the structure, the way it works, the way it's wired. It's always affecting us, but we are not aware of why, because it's an intrinsic part of ourselves, and we need to really dive deep into it. And that's why I actually kind of like some ideas that they held, and those were like really critically thinking about ourselves. And if we don't get this more objective POV of oneself, we're gonna repeatedly act upon our extreme ideas because we feel triggered. And those fears are reinforced by media authority, peer pressure, and the people around them. That's how they create their own collective unconscious. My collective unconscious was, for instance, my family telling me that this was the best coffee shop, always going there, always recommending that place to everyone, always talking about it, saying that the others weren't as good as this one. This environment shaped me to believe that that was the best coffee shop in the city. But maybe it wasn't. Or maybe it was just for me because of all that background. My opinion became, and my opinion was constructed before I was aware that that was the reason why I held that opinion. Yeah, that's how stereotypes play a huge role in how we feel as we belong to a group or don't. Because let's say I was in a family gathering and they were all talking about how great that coffee shop was, and then I went there and said, no, I actually hate it. I wouldn't feel part of my family. I would feel rejected towards my family because they would feel rejected for me. So there would be friction. Therefore, I just prefer not to even think about it and just flow with their opinion. As you can see, that's not the best thing you could do, because as adults and as rational beings, we all have the capacity, well, most of us, if we don't have like huge pathology, you have the capacity to think and say, okay, I hold this belief because my family has taught me that. Okay, what am I gonna do now? And this is like the most important part, taking action. I'm not gonna let my opinion make other people feel bad, because it's not something that's hurting anyone. Also. And second, maybe the opinion that I've always held because of that, it's not reasoned by my own reasoning, but rather for what I've been fed. Therefore, I should maybe reassess the situation, or maybe go one day to another coffee shop and realize that, hey, I still like that one better. Because sometimes we can get so caught up that our beliefs become some sort of script and laws. And there's a huge issue with conformity. Stereotypes are here to add conformity into our thinking. When we hold a belief, it is hardwired in our brain. We're gonna operate through this basis. And this is a really sensitive topic, because when I believe that this is the best coffee shop, I will not open my mind to ever go to another coffee shop. And my friends will not want to go to that coffee shop all the time because they want to go to another one, and that's okay. But I am not tolerant with that. And I would end up alone, spiraling on why people don't understand that this is the best coffee in the city. Because if we don't sit and think, why do we think what we think, we lose power. We lose psychological agency, and that's a huge problem. Because we become machines. Our own machines. Okay, guys, to sum up, stereotypes function as a place of auto-reference to know where we stand, and so we don't have to think much about it. The thing is, we're smarter than that, and we've realized that maybe we don't have to always have a huge stance or something. We don't have to fully agree or fully disagree on something. We can form our opinions over time, and we can change our opinions, which is actually good. Because if the tank of psychological knowledge stagnates, that means that you're not growing, and the world is ever growing, ever evolving, ever changing, and sometimes it requires for you to sit back and understand what's going on, and maybe shift a bit your perspective and your stance on something. Because yeah, nothing is as it used to be, therefore your opinion should be a bit different and more nuanced. Of course, we all have opinions that we'll always stand for. But even if it's an opinion that actually could affect someone else's life, we need to be very wary, and we need to not act from our fear-driven automatic responses. Another function is to socially belong in the group, as I've said. So yeah, next time you're in a group setting or part of a class, a social setting, a political party, a sex, whatever, think about it. Like, what are the things that we are all reinforcing, the ideas that we are all reinforcing that maybe I should reassess? And the worst one is that stereotypes work as a justification of the system to legitimize inequalities. Because as my professor said, when you're not aware, you just repeat. And when you're aware, you have the freedom to choose. So I highly encourage everyone to engage in conversations with people in a critical, a bit more analytic, a bit more open way. I know it's not easy, but you guys, like, small changes change everything. Small changes are a mountain that builds up. And I'm really curious to know about you. What's one belief that you've caught yourself repeating that wasn't actually yours? With all that said, have a really nice week, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. If you're really curious to know more about how to think like a psychologist, click on this playlist and you will have an endless amount of supply.